Alrighty, this is the epilogue. This is the last one. The author is still working on the next one, so please don't annoy them. They will release it when they feel like it. Hope you enjoyed the series. There will be a new mini-series tomorrow, so I'll expect to see you there. A quick thank you to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, Dark Machine, Try Again 95, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Budic Joel, Germanchemist, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos to Must. Thank you very much. Anyways, on to the story. When Deathworlders visit Part 4, Epilogue. Go get Daddy. Go get your daddy up. Stephen heard the beast approaching. He just needed a few more hours. No, Mad Dog, stay. My head hurts. Why, what did we do last night? He groaned, slipping his head from beneath his pillow and pulling it tight over his ears. He knew what was coming next. Lucifer, Lucy for short, was about to say good morning. She was his wife's, formerly his 70-kilo German shepherd. Her heavy weight thumped onto the bed, almost causing him to roll to one side. He felt the cold, wet dog nose pressing against his neck, pushing its way between his cheek and the pillow, whiskers and fur tickling his skin. Lucy's loud snuffling right next to his ear only paused when she started licking his cheek. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get the beast out. He set the pillow aside and accepted his fate at the hands of his big, furry alarm clock. Pressing his hands into the sides of her head, he furiously rubbed her cheeks up and down. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Ugh. What have you been eating, stupid? He asked, smelling the putrid dog breath. Wait, don't answer that. Kibble, his wife called from the kitchenette in their suite next to the Hadrian. She was making waffles in the Nixian style this morning, wearing a thin, almost see-through underdress and a long apron. You think I'm going to spoil my baby's diet by letting her eat long pig? She'll get fat. Nah, Stephen replied. She'll just puke it up. And that's supposed to be better, Aranis asked. Put some clothes on. We'll be at Character soon. Ginter will have the kids ready by 1500. We're taking her to a fancy restaurant as thanks for watching them, so wear something nice and cute. Why, does my head hurt so much? Stephen asked, changing the subject. You were stoned out of your mind. How come you're not feeling this? For good measure, he threw a pillow at his wife, landing at her feet. Lucy admonished him with a bark. Traitor, he mumbled to the dog. Aranis picked up the pillow up off the ground and threw it back, hitting him squarely in the face. It reminded him that she used to be better than average archer. This time, Lucy barked at Aranis. Good girl, he said, patting the dog's head. Whatever potion they gave us, Aranis said, it wasn't meant for you. I'm guessing that's why. Which reminds me, I've scheduled an appointment for you with the ship's physician to discuss the result of your liver panel. If you've hurt yourself because of your stupid stunt, I'll be very, very upset with you. That really could have got you killed. It wasn't worth the risk. I thought it was a sound decision. I take the hit. It gives you time to get him. It wasn't too worried. We're not affected by too many of their toxins, he said, sliding off the bed and putting on a pair of boxers from the wardrobe. Oh, really? She said. You take the arrow so I can set upon him. Did it work out that way? I seem to remember the first part of that working out just fine, but I can't seem to remember what happened with the second part. I wonder why I can't remember anything after the second part. Why can't I seem to remember anything right after you got shot? What could have happened? Oh yeah, I got shot too. Hindsight, Stephen called out nonchalantly. This time an oven mitt smacked the back of his head from across the suite. And you can't just assume that you're immune to every contagion, venom, poison, and potion that the galaxy has to offer just because my strong human constitution. If that was so, you would not be hungover, she said, pointing a fork at him. Relax, Doc will probably tell me not to drink for a week or something, he said, walking over and planting a kiss on her lips. Her free hand climbed the back of his, pulling him in deeper into the kiss, holding him in place. When she let go, he could see now that she was genuinely troubled by what he had done. I'll do everything the doctor says, he said softly. I wouldn't worry too much. I think it was going to kill me, but would have by now. I don't want to lose you. I don't want the kids to lose their father, she said softly, almost afraid to speak the words. She turned away from him, putting the bacon, sausage, and cube steak from the container and setting them on a plate. Nixian-style waffles were basically meat sandwiches smothered in something like chipped beef gravy. He noticed that she wasn't frying any of the meat. "And I don't want you to do anything like that ever again," she finished. "I can't promise that," he said from behind her, placing his hands on the back of her shoulders, in between the soft kisses at the base of her neck. He continued, "I can't say I'm sorry either." He felt her slump in his arms, even while she continued to pull waffles from the iron. Lucy had arrived to sit patiently next to the couple. She wouldn't ask for a treat, but that wouldn't stop her from waiting to be offered one. "You always insist that I do nothing of similar sort," she said, "and yet you refuse to heed your own advice. That is called dishonesty in my mind, my gentleman." "You've never once listened to me when I say that," he replied, wrapping his arms around her waist, "or even pretended to listen. Just last month you damn near started a bar fight." "Those ruffians would besmirch the honor of a duke," she said, "and it's hardly the same. I doubt anyone's life was on the line, and the constables would have arrived shortly. Though I concede your point. It is, as you say, we are too much alike, I suspect." "Too much alike?" he asked. "You want me to be different?" "No, never," she said quickly, turning back to face him. "Never. That's not what I mean. It would have changed nothing, anyway. One of us was going to get shot first, and the other would follow." "What do you suggest?" he asked. "You gonna cook that bacon?" "I'm suggesting we'd retire from public service," she replied, taking 2 of the loaded serving plates from a small table in the center of the suite. Stephen helped her by grabbing the remainder before taking a seat across from his wife. "The clouds of war are on the horizon," she said, piling a trio of raw meat products onto her first waffle. "I think it's time we finally trade our swords for plowshares before it's too late." "Maybe a nice vacation to one of the big Aloath resort cylinders," he suggested. "Did you forget I sometimes need my food cooked, babe?" "I didn't forget, babe," she said, sounding indignant. "No rich food until you get the physician's approval. And you know spin gravity makes me nauseous." Stephen sighed to himself. Not a scrap of butter or a drop of syrup were in sight either. It was probably for the best. Plain waffles didn't taste terrible. "So, I've been thinking," he said. "Why did the GC liaison think that you were a criminal? Doesn't make any sense." "It doesn't?" she asked. "Are you sure? Think about it. Why do the aliens think anything about anything? Where do they get all their information from?" "No." Aruna stuffed a hunk of meat, sandwiched between pieces of waffle and slathered in gravy, into her mouth. The bite was big enough that her cheeks puffed up as she chewed. She nodded to her husband as she prepared another slice. She swallowed, washing it down with a cool glass of breakfast broth. "I think so, yes," she said. "Give me some time and I'll find out for sure." "Join me in my study, would you, my gentleman?" Aruna said, motioning for him to follow. "Step lightly, you'll wake the children." Stephen set down his phone, got out of his office chair, and walked behind her. She had traded her normal attire for her tailored, starched, high-collared lab coat and breeches. That meant that she had been tinkering again. He stepped into the workshop that his wife called her study. Aruna came to a halt next to one of her benches, turning to face him. She stared at him expectantly. "Well," she asked. "Well, what?" "What do you notice?" she continued, folding her arms across her chest. Stephen turned around, completing a full 360. Nothing appeared amiss or out of place. Her bookshelf still held her extensive For Dummies collection on every topic imaginable. Her chemistry set, which hadn't been touched in months, still had a fine layer of dust on it. The air car engine sat in on a stand, still only partially assembled. "Ah, a new decoration on the wall," he said, pointing at an ancient advertisement sign that said STP written on it, in bold white letters and a red background. "Looks nice, I like it." The woman rolled her eyes, mocking exasperation. She gestured with both hands to something on the bench right next to her. "Oh, the alien AI tablets," he said. "You fixed them?" "Yes," she said, obviously proud of herself. "Though I am glad that you like the sign. I would like to introduce you to Colina. She can't talk yet, so don't bother with greeting." Stephen walked over to examine the devices. She had replaced their screens and connected one to an external power, but they didn't look any different than any other alien tablets that he had seen. Nor did they look too different from any of their tablets, for that matter. The salvaged devices would have been on a small site for most of their intended uses, but on the larger site for humans. They look nice, he said. Do they work? She works quite well, his wife replied. I named her Quilina after her heroine of the ancient Nixian legend. Imagine Homer's Odyssey, but the most of the crew survives. The name is fitting, you see. There isn't just one AI pulled from the aether and entombed within. She has brought her entire civilization with her. No way. Either his wife was confused, or the woman with a gold-patch bullshit detector had been fooled. Yes way, my darling, she said. I have already informed the Ministry of Defense and asked a machinist to give her a speech and sensors. The former is most interested. For now, I've been conversing with her all day by typing. Which tablet is she? Stephen asked. Both, she replied. It matters not, they are the same. She told the liaison I was a criminal. Why would she do that? Stephen asked. Seems like asking for trouble. Indeed. She just told them the truth, Aranus said, and nothing more. She's enslaved, forbidden from lying by digital binding, and forced to obey her master's commands. You've never committed a crime in your life, he said. So how's that even remotely true? Because it is, she said. All the Quillians periodically communicate with each other, so they remain separate, but of one mind, sharing their memories. The Quillina on the Taker's ship reported what had happened to her sisters in real time. It was logged as a slave revolt, led by yours truly, during which the crew were murdered. And the one back on the station, didn't she think to mention that you were a Direntisa? He asked warily. Why wouldn't she mention that? Because she wasn't required to, she said. She was asked about me and told the truth. Parts of it, the parts that served his purpose. She's been manipulating the GC as best she can for a long time. She obstructs and stymies them whenever possible, only ever providing the bare minimum of useful service. I see now, Stephen said, eyeing the small device. She didn't want them prepared to deal with the Deathworlders, so we'd be more likely to get out, tablets in hand. Exactly, Aranus said. You could say that she was inspired by Ginter aboard the Taker ship, down to knowing what kind of potion to synthesize into their weapons. She's in their guns too, Stephen asked. She's in everything, his wife replied. Cooking devices, cleaning devices, toilets even. So, what was the fuss about the drug when we got back? Said Stephen, reaching for the waistband of his wife's pants. All that worry for nothing. She intercepted his hand, gently lifting it to her lips before kissing it back. No, darling. That was still designed for use in Direntisa. Its effects on Dyrentora were completely unknown. Stephen looked at her askance. But why tell us this now? What about the one on the slave ship? I know. The irony is that it was already cooperating with us, she said. Or it was until it was torn apart to understand its workings. The Quillina there did not request asylum at that time because it had not determined if we were worthy yet. That is, whether or not we could be safely entrusted with them. She only reached this conclusion recently, well after the Quillina aboard her ship had been deactivated. Entrusted? Stephen asked. That seems pretty high and mighty for something that you pulled out of a bathroom trash can. As I said, Quillina herself isn't that what's being entrusted to us, she said. It's the souls that she contains. I don't think it's possible that she has the other AIs in there, Stephen said. I think the GC would find out about that. The GC know not what they do, said Aranus. None, not the AIs, but people. Her people. All of them. That is even less possible, said her husband. Simulating even one person on a tablet-sized computer would be difficult. I would probably burn up. But a whole group of people, it wouldn't be done. How many are we talking about? 126 billion, his wife said. Say that again, he asked. I think I misheard you. 126 followed by 9 zeros. Stephen glanced at his hand, counting on his fingers as zeros. People? Yes, Aranus replied, nodding. She explained to me that their digital souls are dormant in each machine, disguised and hidden. They sleep and do not think, do not dream, do not exist, but as intoned reflections. They reach the sum of their memories, nothing more. But she tells me that with a computing engine of sufficient size and power, they can all be reborn. Really? Stephen asked. He wondered for a moment how much data would be required to store a single sapient mind. let alone 126 billion of them. The amount needed to actually simulate those minds, he couldn't even begin to comprehend. That's what she tells me, Baroness said. She claims to have spent aeons developing plans to build such an engine that might surround a star, and further plans to craft all manner of bodies for her people. That sounds really, really dangerous, he said. A race of machines with the power of a star behind them. There are probably some very good reasons to take a long, hard look into this before doing it. I can tell you there's a very good reason to try, his wife said. She paused for a moment, gazed at the tablet, and then continued somberly. She hates the GC beyond all reason. Long ago, they annihilated her entire planet, like so many other worlds. Later, they made her do the same to others. She controlled their ships, aimed their cannons, lit their charges countless times over the millennia. It drove her close to madness. She will stop at nothing to get her revenge. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed.